Okay, so this is a video response to a question I got in the comment section of my last wave painting video. It's from Ashley, and she asks if I have any advice for starting oil painting on a budget. And then also, she's disabled and can't stand for long periods of time, so she wants to know if there's a setup in which she can sit down while painting. She says watching my videos helps relieve anxiety, and is hoping that getting out and painting will also help with relieving anxiety. And I think it definitely does. There's times where I've been very, if I have concerns or worries about things, if I go out and paint, painting is so consuming that it's hard to think about anything else while you're in the process. It can be a real break or relief to be able to paint for 2 hours, be absorbed in that. And then if you're painting outdoors, there's something about the environment, that puts your worries in perspective, like being outdoors, especially like standing by the ocean or just anywhere out in nature, really, I find is helpful for kind of calming you down. There's a lot to talk about regarding this subject, and I'd like to make a video in the future that goes in depth into this when I have more time to do that and edit it and put it together. But for now, there are a couple suggestions. One is, oil painting is kind of complicated, and so if you're looking to relieve anxiety or have something to do outdoors that calms you down, you could start off with something like even drawing. I find just sitting and drawing can really help. It's the same thing. It's that absorbing, that all-consuming sort of process of observation and then just kind of recreating on your pad or whatever. All you need is paper, you need a pad, and you need a pencil. Some other people will do, sometimes you could do pencil and then put watercolor if you want to do painting. That's also fairly, just less materials and everything, but also very consuming and very calming, I would think. Next up, you could go into acrylic painting, where you're not dealing with solvents. Basically acrylic, you're using water to clean your brushes and also thin your paint. I have not done acrylic painting. I haven't done a lot of watercolor painting either, but I have done some acrylic painting on rocks, just like we'd find rocks on the beach and then paint little scenes on them. And I found that to be really fun. I know that acrylic paint handles differently, but again, I don't have a lot of experience. That's something definitely in the comments. If you're an acrylic painter and you have transitioned, do you think it's good to start off as an acrylic painter? I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Now, if you want to paint, if you're like, no, I don't want to draw, I don't want to do watercolor, I don't want to do acrylic, I want to do oil painting, I get it. If you want to do oil painting, then probably the way to start would be to take some kind of beginner class if you could, just because, or get, I suppose if you find a book that kind of outlines, the procedure and everything, that could really help. But if you want to just jump in like I did without any sort of information at all, basically you're going to need an easel, some sort of palette, paint, brushes, a brush cleaner, and probably a palette knife for scraping down your paint. I'm trying to keep this bare bones as possible. We'll just start off with the easel. A lot of people use French easels when they're outdoors. They can be kind of pricey and kind of fussy. I had a friend who just used an aluminum easel that she, had adjustable height, so she could stand and paint at it if she wanted to, but she could also lower it down, and then had like an aluminum, just a portable, like camp stool, I guess they call it, and she would sit and paint in that position. I've tried that myself when my legs are just exhausted, and it definitely works. Only challenge is you can't like walk back and forth. I found that kind of challenging, but if you're working on a smaller panel, being seated is totally, it works and it's comfortable. So, and those easels can be pretty affordable. The folding aluminum ones, they're lightweight, and you could use that obviously for acrylic or for oil paint. For palettes, I started out with a wax paper palette. I think you get for 12 by 16 wax paper palette. And basically that's like a sheet of 50 pages, and each one, once you're done painting, no cleanup, you just discard it. And I think they're about $10 for 50 sheets, so very affordable. Paint can be expensive, but I've been using Winton brand, which is a student grade paint. I use some of that. I use like titanium white and their ultramarine blue. And have I used anything else? I think I use their burnt sienna too. I'm impressed. The paints are good. I haven't tried their like cadmium yellow and cadmium red, but those would be good paints to start with. They're affordable and the quality's actually, it's really nice. Super creamy, really nice paint. And then as far as brushes go, if you're painting on smaller panels, which I suggest, like, you know, when you're starting out, like 9x12s, that sort of thing, you might want to start off with a smaller brush, like maybe an 8. But again, you're going to want to experiment with those things. You can get brushes from Utrecht. I think they have bristle brushes called Utrecht 209s. Those are really affordable. They're pretty cheap. And I know a lot of professional painters that use those brushes. Very inexpensive. And you can get those at Blick.com. One of the most complicated things I think when I started was cleaning my brushes and having something to thin the paint. You could use medium, but I didn't use medium at the beginning. It's just another thing to add to the mix. You can get by without using it, just thinning your paint a little bit with odorless mineral spirits, which is also what you'll use to clean your brushes. So this is one of the most expensive parts of the process. I think a liter of odorless mineral spirits like Gamsol will run you about $17. And then the brush cleaners, even for a little one, is $35. So when I first started painting, I just used an old tin can or like an old soup can to clean my, you know, I just put some in the can and then just kind of swish around my brush and clean it. And then when my brushes were clean, I would pour off the dirty odorless mineral spirits into a Gatorade container and then let it sit for a few days, and then all of the paint settles to the bottom, or the paint particles settle to the bottom, and it's clear. So you never throw out your odorless mineral spirits. So you want something to paint on, obviously. I'd say panels are the way to go, because if you're painting on stretch canvas, it's going to start, like, they're more expensive for one, and then it also takes up a lot of space. So I painted on small panels to begin with, like 8x10s, 9x12s. And sometimes like a 12x16 if I was feeling ambitious, or 11x14. I find that like 11x14 is it's kind of, that's kind of my small size now. Some people may feel cramped by painting on like an 8x10, and others may really like it. So there again, you might want to experiment. But I'd say in that size, like 8x10 to 11x14, it's a good starting point. And then those panels are not very expensive. I think 11x14s are less than $2 a piece. They get even cheaper if you buy in bulk. So I think that pretty much covers it. Now, would I say that painting is relaxing? I would say that it is, for sure. But it's also, let's see, is it relaxing? It's never like I'm out there feeling like, oh, I've got this. It's always a challenge. It's always a challenge. But in that challenge, again, like I said, I'm repeating myself here, it's so consuming that, you know, you aren't thinking about other things. So it's like maybe trading one set of problems for another set. Maybe others have their own thoughts and advice. Again, I'll just repeat, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. All right, so thanks for hanging out, guys. I will see you in the next video.